Welcome to the DevReady podcast, and today we have Kateesha Hembrow on the call. Thanks for joining us, Kateesha.
No, thanks for having me, Anthony.
Why don't you introduce yourself and give everyone a little bit of background about who you are? I think you'll do a better job at it than I will.
No worries. Where do I even begin? I've got a business called the Bean Own Academy, which is a coaching agency specialising in personal branding and sales. So I work with anywhere from CEOs to sales professionals to founders to people wanting to escape their 9 to 5 and start a business. So quite a cool mix of people. But ultimately, I guess my clients come to me because they want to grow their sales. So we do that through a number of ways, but personal branding is one of them. And that's my field house. I have been on LinkedIn growing my own personal brand for the last 4 years. Absolutely obsessed with the platform. But to get to, I guess, this point took, quite a few years of successes and failures to really figure out what my niche was and what my, I guess, zone of genius was. So I was running Bean Own as a done for you service for about a year. And then when I actually started to promote the business mid last year, I got an influx of inquiries asking for me to coach people. And that's where the business now is.
It's an exciting change from providing the service to coaching. How have you found that transition?
Oh, amazing. I'm absolutely in love with coaching. It's so rewarding. Don't get me wrong, the done for you was good, but it was very stressful, and I was managing the process from A to Z. So creating content, managing clients' accounts, doing lead gen, and I was also closing sales for my clients as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was very full on, but obviously it's great experience, and I can now, when I bring on new clients for my coaching business, I can say to them, I have personally delivered it for clients, but obviously for myself. So I understand the whole process and the funnel from how does somebody see a piece of content and then become a paying client.
Yeah, definitely. That experience definitely would help taking you from A to Z. Was closing the sales deals part of what your offering was, or did you sort of stumble into that? It sounds like that may be a little bit outside what you were offering.
No, it was one of those things where I had a couple of businesses where the founders were just too busy to close the sales. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I guess right in the beginning, did I think I was going to be closing sales? No, I knew I was always going to be generating leads for clients, but I didn't think I would be closing sales to clients as well. And it just kind of was the natural progression of the business. Yep. And then, sort of towards, would have been about maybe September, October last year was when I started signing coaching clients. And as of January this year, I've only taken on coaching clients and only will. So.
Okay. It's good when you get to that point to be able to choose who you work with.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. And I'm very selfish in that perspective because I work so closely with my clients, I'm in the trenches with my clients. I want to make sure I'm working with good people for one, people that are in alignment with my values, and people that I can have fun with too. Because you put so much of your heart and soul into your business, you want to make sure that you're actually enjoying it as well. And I can quite confidently say that every single one of the clients I'm working with are amazing people that I absolutely adore and love working and helping them to grow their business or grow their sales, whether they're a sales professional. So, but it's funny, I guess just even the type of leads that I'm attracting have been really high quality humans. And I think that is a lesson in itself that what you put out is what you get back. And that might be very woo-woo for some people, but I am a really big believer in the energy you put out. And I've spent 4 years giving back on my LinkedIn community, just constantly posting value that's going to help others with no expectation in return. And that's really come back for me this year. So.
Oh, that's good to hear. I think we share a similar sentiment. So we always tell people, if you're looking for a development team to work with your tech startup and have a team that supports you, it's a partnership. You have to be able to work with the people, not just have a group of people somewhere in another country potentially where you say, do this, they go and build it, disappear and come back, and then you get the wrong thing. You have to be able to work with the people you're engaging with. It is a relationship. You don't just start something and then never talk to the people again.
Oh,
They're
100%.
constant. It's constant communication, constant ideas and ideation. You have to have that free space to be able to talk and try and evolve things and bring that other viewpoint that they might not have.
And it's, I guess, a relationship of trust as well, in the sense that, I mean, I'm giving my clients guidance on how to publicly brand themselves and how to generate sales. And, branding is something that I guess you don't want to get wrong. So, there is a huge responsibility on my behalf to making sure that I'm providing the right advice to my clients. But I guess with my business model, if I have clients working one-on-one privately with me, I'm talking to them every day. Like we are in constant communication. So that is why I'm very selective about who I bring into the academy, just pure selfishly, because I'm like, I want to make sure you're going to be good fun, you're a good human, and we're going to smash goals together.
Yeah. At the end of the day, yeah, you don't need the headache of being frustrated and talking to someone because they're not taking your opinions on board and not listening to your expertise. And that's the whole point of them working with you.
Oh, 100%. And it comes back to, it's not only a bad look for them, but it's a bad look for you. Like, I'd hate to bring on a client and for them to have a poor experience because they're not doing the work and then put the blame on me. And it's like, well, hold on, you've got to take some responsibility here. So, so that's why I'm very careful about
that can happen. We've seen it a few times in the past.
I think we all have, if we're going to be honest. Like, as a business owner, you've done that in the past where you've brought on a client and then a week later you're like, oh, that was a mistake. I should not have signed them. But from those lessons, hopefully we learn better for the future.
Everything's it's a useful step along the journey.
Absolutely.
So in that sort of content space, you mentioned the word zone of genius. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I may guess it's part of tying into sort of how you position yourself as an expert. I can't remember the exact term off the top of my head for that, like expert marketing, where you're just pushing out content and sharing your knowledge.
Yeah, I guess like a zone of genius is, what's the area that you're really good at. So for me, I'm really good at growing brands and then leveraging those brands to make sales off the back of it. So that's, I guess, my zone of genius. You could probably also say LinkedIn is my happy place, happy place as well. But I know how to convert followers into paying clients. So that, I would say, would be my zone of genius. But when it comes to, I guess, when I work with my clients, it's identifying, with their personal brands, like what few things do they want to be known for? And we need to make sure that the content is reflective of that. So then that way that messaging is continually getting pushed into people's minds. So when they come across a problem, they know that person can solve it.
Yeah. So is that the key difference between the personal brand marketing versus the marketing of the business that they're in? It's how do you want to be known as a person?
Yeah. So it's a funny topic because people get very confused with personal and business branding, and I see it all the time. And the best way I can explain it is, so you've got Elon Musk and then you've got Tesla, right? Elon Musk has way more followers and way more buy-in from the world than what Tesla would, because people connect with humans, particularly now in this day and age, because we have become more and more isolated. We're on our phones 24/7. We crave, like, as terrible as to admit, like, we crave that connection through our phones and through our computers to another human. And that's why personal brands are so much more powerful than a business brand. Because, for instance, if I saw like a CEO post a really cool story on their personal LinkedIn profile, I'm much more likely to engage in that than if the company page had posted it. Because I'm not connecting with the company page, I'm connecting with that special human. And this is the exciting thing about personal brand. And you'll see it very often, like where celebrities or, influencers will grow their personal brand, and then off the back of that, they'll launch a business, and the business goes bananas because there's so much buy-in from their personal brand. And that's a really exciting place to be in. And it's just the way of the future. Like if you're not growing your personal brand, you're missing out big time.
Do you see that with people you speak to? I'm not sure what sort of markets they're in or the size businesses are in, but is it more that the smaller business or an entrepreneur who's doing a startup, that's where they think the personal brand matters more, as opposed to someone who's working like a corporate environment and they're one of hundreds or thousands of employees?
It's important for everyone. So like the way I look at personal branding is like my personal brand is my safety net. And I wish more and more people realize that. So you could be an employee that wants to be an employee forever, right? But you could walk into work tomorrow and your job could be gone like that. But if you had been building your personal brand online and you'd been connecting with people, how much quicker are you going to find a new job, maybe an even better one, as if you were a ghost?
Yeah, true.
So
Having that presence is important.
it's so important, regardless of whether you own a business, want to own a business, whatever stage you're at. In terms of, I guess, the type of clients I'm working with and the industries, such a mix. Like I'm talking health coaches, executive coaches. I do a lot in the tech space. So working with a lot of companies in tech. I've got property, professional services. I've just signed somebody in the HR space in SaaS. Like it's just such a broad mix. But the reality is if you've got something you want to sell, whether that's a product, service, or just you as a person, and you know where your target market is hanging out, then you need to be pumping valuable content out so you're known as an expert.
Yeah. And that content, it's more just providing value through knowledge. It's not really the selling often, is it?
Well, yeah. So I guess in my eyes, like a really good personal brand doesn't need you to be selling. Like it's very rare that you'll see me selling through my content. I might have a call to action at a few of my posts to say, like, if you want to learn more, send me a message or do this, that, and the other. But, I sort of believe if you're pumping out really good value content, then people will come. And it's not to say that you can't be posting some content that is a bit more sales driven. That's fine. But if you're going obviously hard with every post being like, book a meeting with me, I'm really good at this, or, you're gonna lose people. But it's a balancing act with your content, right? So I try and aim for an 80-20 rule. So 80% of my content is value-driven content. Like I'm giving all the answers away. If you actually go through all my LinkedIn content, you could probably go and build your own personal brand and make mega dollars without any more.
Everything's there.
Everything's there.
But that's the do-it-yourself model.
Well, that's the do. Well, you know what the reality is that people invest in me because they want the personalized strategy and they want the accountability and the support. If somebody is willing to go through all my content and replicate that and go to that effort and length, then you know what, I'm happy for them to do that. Like you go for it, like really, like, recognize the commitment to do that. But the other 20% of my content, which I think is really important that people forget, is around that sort of storytelling, personal side of things. And a lot of people, I think, are a little bit afraid, particularly on LinkedIn, to show more of that human side, more of that personal element. But it's how I've grown my brand so quickly. I've got over 7,000 followers on LinkedIn, which has all been organic. And it's come because I've been very vulnerable around, my journey as a business owner, but also just as a human as well. And there's some topics, like my most viral post got seen by just shy of 200,000 people, right?
Oh, wow.
And that was around doing 1 year dry. I did not expect that. I thought maybe like 50 likes, and it just blew up, like 1,500 likes, 300 comments, like went absolutely bananas. But those dribbling, that sort of content in throughout throughout the year is what allows people to connect with you and to build that trust, while they also are still seeing my value-driven content around the things that I'm an expert in. But that's part of building a brand. Is I'm a big believer in the more you give, the more you're going to get back.
Yeah, I think I struggle with the personal side. I don't normally post personal things. I have an Instagram where I enjoy whiskey and I review things there, and that's completely isolated and doesn't talk about anything else. But then anything else to do with social media is all about, here's how you can help build apps better, or here's things you need to know to improve. And probably the closest thing I've probably posted that's personal is I write articles about, I've titled them Movie Business. So things you can learn in business that are from watching movies.
Oh, I love it.
At least that ties in my appeal for watching movies.
Loving movies. But this is the beautiful thing about personal branding, right? Is you don't necessarily need to, go to the extremes, I guess, that I do. where I'm pumping a lot of personal content. I know amazing creators, LinkedIn influencers, may you call them, that have never posted a photo of them like the whole time I've known them. But they've got such a distinct personal brand because they've managed to add like humor into their content. And like that's their personal element. So don't necessarily feel like, you have to be posting a photo of yourself in a bikini on LinkedIn. Like that's not necessary, but you do need to think of, what's that uniqueness about you that's personal that people are going to tie to you. And if that's you posting content around, that movie stuff, then hey, maybe that is. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you posting about your love of whiskey. How many people would resonate with that on LinkedIn?
Yeah,
I'm sure
I imagine a lot.
Yeah, I imagine there's plenty of whiskey drinkers on there.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know if it's just from myself or it's probably the generation. We grew up with no internet initially, and then it came halfway through, so it wasn't something where you always put yourself out.
And it feels uncomfortable, right? Like
I think that's what it was initially. Now I don't have a problem.
Yeah, no,
I just don't do it.
You get over it, but this is something that a lot of people struggle with. Is it feels vain and it feels really uncomfortable because it's like people thinking, oh, it's a look at me show, but it is. But do it for the right reasons, and that's what I tell my clients is, if you have value, this is a question I ask my clients is, do you believe you have value to offer the world? And they always say yes, I've got things I can share. And it's like, well, aren't you being bloody selfish for not sharing that with others? You could be helping other people. And that's how I look at my personal brand, to get over any of that awkwardness or ickiness where you're thinking, oh, am I talking about myself too much? Am I posting too much? If your piece of content is going to help one person that day, then post it.
Yeah, it's something useful then.
Yeah.
I think also there's probably a lot of things where people, they don't post things until it's perfect.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. That one shows up a lot for my clients where they send me like 7 revisions of their content and I'm like, you got to stop.
Yeah, I know people say done is better than perfect. It's just 100%. There's no such thing as perfect. You just have to get something out.
Can I let you know, I'm the worst speller. Do you know how many pieces of content I've put out where people have privately DM'd me and gone, hey, Kateesha, you've spelt this wrong, and it's like, whoops, let me jump in and fix that.
I'm very similar. It's if it wasn't for Grammarly, I don't think people would be able to read what I put out.
Oh, 100%. I mean, if I was being a perfectionist with my content, like I worked out last week, I've posted over 1,000 pieces of content over the years. So if I had have not been posting content because I was scared about a spelling mistake, like look at what I would have missed out on now.
Yep. So I had a similar thing. I didn't like the sound of my voice in video or audio. Yeah, I still don't.
Does anyone?
I'm not sure, but I went to some event somewhere and someone mentioned that those things that are holding you back, like you're the only person who cares and no one else is going to notice. And then the next day I started filming videos.
I love that.
And that's all it took.
Yep, it's just that little, and this is what gets me excited about personal branding, is somebody could read something of your piece of your content and it then dramatically impact their life to make them, go and take action. And I love hearing stories like that.
And then that perfection thing is when we started making videos, I would film a 1-minute video, but I'd spend an hour writing bullet points, writing an hour of bullet points and what am I going to talk about in a rough script, then spending the next hour, another hour recording a 1-minute video.
That's so funny.
Because I couldn't remember what I had to say properly.
Yeah, and it's actually it's a skill. Hey, I remember when I first started filming videos 4 years ago and being really nervous and trying to remember everything I have to say. Whereas, like, for instance, this Friday I've booked the full day out to just film and shoot 6 months worth of content. And the only prep I've done is I've given myself one-liners for each video, and that's like the topic. And I feel so comfortable and knowledgeable as well in those areas that I can just have somebody point a camera at me and I can just speak and write off what I need.
I do the same model. Any video you see of me online as of the last maybe 3-4 years, as opposed to that first year when I started filming, it's all one take off the cuff, off the top of my head on everything. So that's the best way I can knock out in an hour 30 videos if I wanted.
And they're not polished either, don't get me wrong. Like,
oh, no. It's just, but it's me in front of a camera talking, so there's not that much that can go wrong. I might mess stuff up, but that's just me. That's what happens normally. I forget things when I'm talking to people on the podcast as well. It just happens.
It happens.
So for those that are looking to sort of bring in leads and then transition them through a sales funnel, or if you're talking to ourselves, so we've never really gotten any information from the content that we put out, but we're constantly putting out information. What are some advice that you can give to myself or people similar in a similar space where, all right, if you're putting out content, how do you transition it into just lead generation rather than just trying to be the person they remember at some point?
Yeah, of course. So it comes down to a few things. And I guess one of them is, what platform are you on firstly? Because that can really, I guess, depict how quickly leads are going to come through. Yep. You want to make sure your target market is on the platform. So I've gone very hard and heavy with LinkedIn, and I'm just about to start branching out onto Facebook and Instagram. You want to make sure, one, with your content, it is hitting the mark with your target market. So you need to be talking about things that they're experiencing problems and pains with, and really addressing it, and making sure that you have call to actions as well with your content too. You need to have a clear funnel. So for me, for instance, I'll give you a good example. About a month ago, I had a fella on LinkedIn who wasn't even a connection of mine, saw a piece of my content on his feed because one of his connections liked it.
Yep.
The post really resonated with him, so he clicked onto my profile and then he sent me a connection request, which I accepted. And then a day later, he reached out and sent me a message and said, "Hey, saw on your profile you're in personal branding. I'm just about to go out and launch my own business, and I think I need help with my personal branding." We jumped on a call, and within a week, he was a signed paying client. So that is an example, like one example of one of my funnels. And it's just really important that you understand what your funnel and flow is, and that it's really seamless and easy for a potential client to be booking through. It also takes time. This is the other thing as well. Like, if you're doing it organically and if you're relying on inbound leads, it takes time. I mean, I've been building my brand for 4 years. They're coming through, like the leads are like coming through quite hot this year, but that's because I've spent years growing my brand.
Yep.
Not to say, though, that you can, in the early days, you can't be generating leads. And how you do that is through a strategic outreach. Now, I'm not talking connecting with somebody and sending them a pitch 30 seconds later, but there are ways that you can generate leads. And it might be a matter of like messaging people that are, commenting or engaging in your content. Who's viewing your profile? Like, that's another one. If you're on LinkedIn and you're not paying for Premium or Navigator, like, you're missing out. Because anybody who's viewing my profile, and I think I'm up to I get 1,600 views every 90 days on my profile. Like, these are people that could be potential clients. So you need to go through and connect with those people. So there are lots of different ways, but if you are relying on inbound leads, one, it takes time. Two, your messaging needs to be really clear. And three, you need to make sure that you have a call to action that's leading through a funnel.
Okay.
And the simple fact is if you're pumping content and you've been going at it for a while and you're getting no results, your content sucks.
I hope that's not the case.
Like, if you feel like you're doing everything right, if your target market is on the platform, if you're posting lots of content, if you're engaging with other people and you're still not getting any traction, something's going on there. Maybe your profile isn't optimized well. Maybe your content isn't putting out the right message you want it to be in order to be attracting the right people. Maybe the content's boring.
Yep.
Like, it hurts to hear, but these could be reasons.
Yeah, I probably make boring stuff. It's just me talking to a camera. So, or we do post a lot of stuff from the content. So there's always rich snippets from either the guest or ourselves as we're saying things. Yep. So we'll take things out of this episode and then repost that.
And it might be a matter. It might be a matter, Anthony, of like, you just need to take different snippets out of the podcast that are more like catchy, where people read it and they're like, whoa, or they see the video and they're like, that's controversial. Like, what's Anthony talking about with Kateesha? I need to watch that.
I normally stay away from anything controversial. It's just safer. But that's the stuff that gets interest. That's
the stuff that gets people. Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be okay with the fact that not everybody is going to like you. And the way I overcome that, because it's not a good feeling. Of course you want everybody to like you. But then I ask myself, well, do I like everyone? No, I don't. So how can I expect everyone to like me?
Yeah, and that's the good thing about putting the content out there is the ones that don't like you, most of them will just stay away and you don't speak to them. So you don't get those clients that are not going to gel with your
Absolutely.
personality or how you are, especially if you're putting content out there.
100%. Like I said to you earlier, this is why I'm attracting, great humans and people that are in alignment with me, because my content is attracting the right people.
Yeah. So on the kind of content that you're putting out there, is it more, so we follow, I'm sure you know Gary Vee, like how he sort of says about the content. We don't do the hook jab thing that he mentions, but it's
Yeah.
more just constantly putting out content on the area that we're experts in. So that'll be, all right, this is the stuff you need to know to build an app. These are the things you need to be careful of. This is the hidden costs. And if you're working with other teams that are overseas, these are the problems we've seen. So make sure these things are you're asking them and things like. So we're providing a lot of useful information. Is that the sort of content that you're talking about with on the lead sales side that isn't to do with the personal branding?
Well, I would say that that's your value-driven content. So you know how I spoke about that 80-20 rule? So
Yep.
to me, that's 80% of like you're giving away like value and knowledge and information that people need to be aware of. But what you might find is you may need to rejig how you write, because
Yep.
copywriting is an art as well too.
Definitely.
And it's funny, the number of clients that sign with me, I'm working with 5 engineers at the moment that are either currently engineers or were engineers. So they're very analytical people. And they all jump on with me and they're like, I can't write content. Like, I'm not creative at all. And before you know it, I teach them how to write and I give them the structure, and they're putting out these masterpieces of content. And it just shows you that anybody can be taught how to write good copy. And so for yourself, like if you're finding the engagement isn't super great on those particular pieces of content, it might be a matter of the layout. So, another thing as well that I really preach is writing your content directed to one person.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be putting something out a little bit generic, but if you go, has your app development stitched you up in that you thought it was only going to take 3 months and now it's 2 years down the track and you're still building this app?
Yep.
Like when somebody
one
reads
specific person with one
and that's going to hit home with that person who's on year 2 of their app development and going, oh my gosh, that's me. And what does that also do? It connects with them, and then you want to evoke emotion from people. When they read your content, you want them to feel something. Mm-hmm. But the reality as well too, and a lot of my clients get frustrated with this, and it's just how the world works. My content talking about doing 1 year dry, my tragic dating life as a founder, like all those things, they are going to get more engagement than a piece of content on personal branding. Like that is the reality of it, but it's so important that you're doing both.
Mm-hmm. I think, we're just, it's a 99.99% one way. So I've got to just start bringing in some of that other stuff.
Absolutely, because people will resonate with you more and trust you.
Yep. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So for anyone else out there, is there any other sort of lasting tips or anything else you want to leave with them before we wrap up today?
That's a big question. So open. So many lessons.
Maybe what's from the clients you've been working with in the last week or two, what's a key thing you've taught someone or a mistake that you've seen and told them to change? We'll change the question.
Is this relevant? I have 2. So I think there's one that I want to give to people just in everyday business and life, and then I'll think of one specific to personal branding. So I think personal branding, if you're wanting to grow your personal brand, you need to look at it as it's actually not about you. So your personal brand, ironically, is not about you. It's about how you can help others. And that's going to really help you shift your mindset to feel more comfortable posting content. And I always do things out of a place of love and service. And I preach this to my clients. So whether it's a piece of content, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a sales call, I always say to my clients, go in from a place of love and service. Don't go in to close that prospect. Because the moment you do that, you've lost the sale. But if you go in it from a place of wanting to help people, that's when you'll start to, grow your business and bring on more clients. So that's the advice I'd give when it comes to personal branding. When it comes to business and life, and this has come from some really hard lessons that I learned start of last year, and that's you need to get really clear on your values. And I preach this to my clients as well, because if you're dealing with people that aren't in alignment with your values, it's going to bite you in the bum. And take it from somebody who got bitten big time last year.
Okay.
It's not something you want to go through. So really hone in on what your values are and make sure that you are making your business and life decisions around those.
Yep. Well, that's some good advice there, and definitely I think everyone needs to be working with those people that are aligned to their values and they can actually get along, because if you're working for yourself, you've got the choice of who you can work with. In the early days, you may not, because you're just trying to bring in money and make sure it's all getting to that point. But they're the lessons.
On that topic, actually, of like trying to bring, let me tell you, it's not worth it unless you don't have money to pay grocery bills tomorrow. Like, sweat it out and find a better aligned client, because it's more of a headache and it's going to cost you more bringing on a painful client.
It will. There's a lot of headaches, a lot of things outside of the actual work that you have to then deal with.
It actually financially costs you as well. Yep. That's the thing I don't think people realize too, is it actually hurts you financially in the long run.
Yeah, there's something I've remembered, probably I read it 15, 16 years ago when we started working, was you're better off working for free than for a discount. Because when you're doing something for free, the people don't expect much. When it's a discount, they still expect the full experience that someone who's paying the full rate would.
It's funny you're on that topic. I had this come up with a client the other day where I don't believe in doing stuff for free. Like, I don't believe, to a degree, like I do a lot of master classes and stuff like that for free. But if you want to work with me, we're not doing this for free and there's no discounts.
Yeah, if you don't have the discount model, then not a problem. But if you are discounting, you're better off doing something for free, because then you're not tied to them. There's no real relationship. You're offering value for nothing, so they're going to get value out of it regardless of how far you go down the path. As opposed to if you're offering a 50% discount on some service.
Yeah. They're still expecting 100% of the service.
100% of the service. At some point, if it's an ongoing thing, you're going to be starting to get resentful on the amount of effort you're putting in, and that's costing time, opportunity cost on other projects where you'd be getting the full rate.
100%.
Yeah. So on that, thank you, Kateesha. It's been great speaking to you today. If anyone wants to reach out, I'm sure it's on LinkedIn, how they can find it. Anywhere else you want to tell people about where they can get in touch with you?
Oh, look, LinkedIn is probably going to be the easiest way to find me. And hopefully I like to think I've got my funnel set up well on LinkedIn for people to reach out.
You respond quite quickly, just so everyone out there to know. So
I'm on there way too much than I'd like to admit. But yeah, if you just search up Kateesha Hembrow, I can't imagine there's too many Kateeshas, but Hembrow if there are. And yeah, flick me a message and we can have a chat about your personal brand and or sales. So I do work with clients just strictly on sales, but then, I obviously work with clients that do both. So
yep. No problem. And we'll put the links out in the show notes when we shared that out the episode as well. And thank you once again, Kateesha. It's been great having you.
No worries. Thanks for having me, Anthony.